January 5, 1999. Persian Gulf. An F-14 Tomcat from VF-213. Black Lions locks onto an Iraqi MiG-25 Foxbat attempting to breach the southern no-fly zone range, 58 nautical miles. The pilot squeezes the trigger. A 1,000-pound missile drops from the belly, ignites, and accelerates to Mach 5. The Iraqi pilot never knew what hit him. This is the story of the AIM-54 Phoenix, the most powerful air-to-air missile ever deployed by the United States, and the only aircraft that could fire it, the F-14 Tomcat. The Phoenix wasn't just a missile. It was a flying supercomputer designed to do one thing: kill Soviet bombers before they could launch nuclear cruise missiles at American carrier groups. And to understand why it was so terrifyingly effective, you need to understand the problem it was built to solve. 1960s. The Soviet Union has just unveiled the Tu-22M backfire bomber. This thing carries anti-ship cruise missiles with a range of 300 miles. It flies at Mach 1.5, and the Soviets have hundreds of them. The nightmare scenario: waves of backfires approaching a carrier battle group from multiple directions, launching their missiles from beyond the range of American fighters. The Navy's existing Interceptor, the F-4 Phantom, has a maximum engagement range of about 25 miles with the AIM-7 Sparrow. Do the math. By the time F-4s get close enough to fire, those Soviet bombers have already launched their cruise missiles. The carrier is dead. The Navy needs a missile that can kill at 100 miles. And they need a fighter that can track and engage 6 targets simultaneously while they're still over the horizon. Enter Grumman and Hughes, 1974. They deliver the F-14 Tomcat and the AIM-54 Phoenix. Together, they create the most lethal, long-range interception system ever put on a carrier deck. Here's what made the Phoenix absolutely revolutionary. The missile itself is massive, 13 feet long, 1,000 pounds. For comparison, a modern AMRAAM is 12 feet and 335 pounds. The Phoenix is 3 times heavier. Why? Because it's not just a missile, it's a self-contained weapon system. Inside that aerodynamic body is a solid-fuel rocket motor that accelerates the missile to Mach 5, nearly 4,000 miles per hour. At that speed, the Phoenix covers a mile every second. The target has almost no time to react. But speed isn't the revolutionary part. The revolutionary part is the guidance system. The Phoenix uses 3 separate guidance modes that switch automatically depending on the phase of flight. Launch to mid-course. The missile receives updates from the F-14's AWG-9 radar via data link. The Tomcat is essentially flying the missile remotely, steering it toward the target while tracking 5 other threats simultaneously. Mid-course. The missile's own inertial navigation system takes over, following a ballistic trajectory to conserve fuel while the AWG-9 continues feeding it. Course corrections. Terminal phase. 11 miles from target, the Phoenix's own active radar seeker switches on. Now the missile is completely autonomous. It finds the target, locks on, and guides itself to impact the F-14 can break off and engage something else, or fire another Phoenix at a different target. This is 1974 technology. The iPhone wouldn't exist for another 33 years. The warhead is 135 pounds of continuous rod expanding shrapnel. When it detonates, steel rods unfold in a rapidly expanding ring traveling at thousands of feet per second, slicing through aircraft structure like a buzzsaw through aluminum foil. You don't survive a Phoenix hit. You disintegrate. But here's the insane part. The F-14 can fire 6 of these things at 6 different targets, all before the first missile even impacts. The AWG-9 radar has a range of over 115 miles and can track 24 targets while engaging 6 simultaneously. The pilot and radar intercept officer select 6 targets on the display lock. Lock, 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 lock. 6 Phoenix missiles drop from the belly and wing pylons in rapid succession, each one assigned to a different bomber. The missiles climb to 80,000 feet, arc over like artillery shells, then dive at Mach 5 toward their targets. The first Soviet bomber explodes. 5 seconds later, the second. Then the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all before the formation even knows it's under attack. The Soviets called the F-14 the most dangerous aircraft in the world. They weren't exaggerating. Now here's the thing. The Phoenix only scored a handful of actual kills in combat, most famously by Iranian F-14's during the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. The U.S. Navy only fired the Phoenix in anger twice. August 1989. 2 Libyan MiG-23 floggers are intercepted over the Mediterranean by F-14's from VF-32. Phoenix missiles launched, both MiGs destroyed. And that Iraqi MiG-25 in 1999 we talked about at the beginning. So if the Phoenix was so deadly, why so few kills? Because it worked too well. The mere presence of F-14's carrying Phoenix missiles forced Soviet naval aviation to completely redesign their tactics. Instead of massed bomber formations, they switched to low-altitude approaches, saturation attacks, and standoff jamming. They never tried to engage a carrier group the way they planned in the 1960s because they knew the Phoenix made that suicidal. Deterrence. The best weapon is the one you never have to fire. But the Phoenix had problems. It cost $477,000 per missile in the 1980s dollars. That's over $1 million in today's money. For a single missile, an F-14 carrying 6 Phoenix missiles was carrying $6 million hanging off the airframe. The Navy couldn't afford to train with them. Most pilots fired maybe 1 or 2 in their entire career, usually at drone targets during workups. Live fire exercises with Phoenix missiles were rare because accountants had heart attacks every time one left the rail. The missile was also maintenance intensive. The liquid cooling system for the electronics required constant servicing. The rocket motor had a limited shelf life, and the sheer weight meant the F-14 couldn't carry a full loadout and enough fuel for long-range missions without being catapulted at maximum weight. But when it worked, nothing else came close. There's a famous story from an Iranian F-14 pilot during the Iran-Iraq War. He's escorting a tanker when his RIO picks up 4 Iraqi MiG-21s inbound at low altitude. The pilot climbs to 40,000 feet, selects all 4 targets, and fires 4 Phoenix missiles in sequence. Time from detection to launch, 38 seconds. All 4 MiGs explode before their pilots even see the F-14 on radar. The Phoenix was retired in 2004, along with the F-14 Tomcat. The Super Hornet replaced both with the much smaller, much cheaper MRAM. Maximum range, 50 to 60 miles, half the Phoenix's capability. Why? Because the threat changed. The Soviet Union collapsed. Naval aviation shifted from fleet defense to power projection and strike missions. Nobody builds long-range supersonic bombers anymore. The carrier group's biggest threats are now cruise missiles, not manned aircraft. You don't need a 100-mile missile to kill a cruise missile. You need fast reaction point defense. But for 3 decades, the Phoenix represented the ultimate expression of a specific military philosophy: reach out and kill the archer before he can shoot his arrow. Soviet bomber crews had a saying during the Cold War: if you see a Tomcat, you're already dead. They weren't wrong.